A very good morning to you all on what is a glorious, absolutely glorious summer's morning. Can I call it summer in May? I hope so. Well, we're nearly June. Absolutely beautiful, warm, a little light, warm breeze, perfectly blue sky, not a cloud to be seen, which is unusual here in Manchester, as you're well aware. But absolutely lovely. Been out this morning, enjoyed a little bit of sunshine, and may go out a little bit later. What I want to talk about today is a question that I'm asking myself right now, and I'll tell you the reason why. Oh, goodness me, it must be about 8-9 months ago, I guess, possibly even that little bit longer. I was talking about the potential of closing down my watch collection. On the basis that I am a firm believer that you'll get to a point where you feel satisfied. And I know this kind of flies in the face of what Simon's just talked about regarding his WatchPox video, which is, we'll buy something, then maybe 4 or 5, 6 months on, you're looking again at what else will fit nicely on your wrist. But I say about 8 or 9 months ago, I made this video about where I will possibly be looking at about closing down my collection, because I will have enough watches, in fact more watches than I'm ever going to have time to wear in a rotation. As you're aware, I'm not the kind of guy who buys a watch to flip at some point in the future. That never enters my head. And as I've said on a very, very large number of occasions, life would have to go so wrong at this end to push me to the point of actually having to sell my watches. So let's kind of put those two things together here. That one, I'm never going to sell any more watches, and two, what watches would I buy to actually finish out my collection? Well, at the time of making that video, I said that on the day of my 55th birthday, I was going to go out and promise myself that I would buy myself a prestigious brand model of watch, which after a lot of searching I did, and as you know, I went out and bought the Rolex Hulk, which is still sitting nestled beautifully on my desk in my twin watch winder with my other Rolex. And chance here for a quick watch check, I've got my Rolex GMT Master circa 1969 Pepsi bezel. There you go. Lives next to that in the watch winder here. And I also said that there would be another prestige watch somewhere in the future. Now, at that point, this is where the other watch that I talked about came into the calculations, which was the IWC Portofino chronograph with the Valjoux 7750 movement in it. Now, as you're also well aware, I've recently bought my Bulova Gemini AccuSwiss, which to all intents and purposes, apart from the solid gold case, is the IWC Portofino. So the IWC Portofino, although I still love it, I don't need one anymore. So I've decided to kind of question myself and look elsewhere. So I suppose I've got to decide on what my budget is going to be. Now, you bear in mind that to save for my Hulk, it took me about 5.5 years, roughly saving the same amount every month, given the normal stuff that we all get, car breakdowns, unexpected bills, so on and so forth. I tried to average out saving the same amount of money so that I would have the cash in my hand if I needed it to go in and try to negotiate a deal. As you're aware, again, I actually found a cashback credit card where I got money back from buying the watch, and I just settled the bill the month after. So in effect, I bought it cash with a little bit of money back. So the question here is, am I still wanting to buy another watch? The answer is yes, I am. So the question here is to myself as much as to you guys, which is, what would be, and the first, the word that's very important here is last. What would be your last big purchase. So this will be literally the thing that will close out your collection. Now, there's quite a lot of us out there have what we call our grail piece, of course. Now, a grail piece is fine because it is something that is or seems out of reach. Well, as we're aware, nothing is out of reach as long as you can afford it, as long as you can either do what I did and get it on a credit card, but please pay it off the month after, or do what I intended to do, which was save up and save up and save up and buy it cash. Because having a wad of sweaty £50 notes in your hand gives you a little bit of bargaining room with the person the other side of the counter. So, what would be your last big purchase? So, potentially we're talking about your grail piece. Yes, I'm also aware that we all have this unicorn piece, this piece which is this mythical beast that you know you're never going to get on your wrist, but you would love to own. So let's ignore that. Let's make this realistic. So I'm not talking about something for, you know, the normal guy in the street. Well, I guess what our upper limit for the guy in the street, 10 grand for a watch, maybe. And I know there are people out there who can afford, you know, your 20, 30, 40 grand for a watch. But for us normal guys, let's put a limit on it. You know, I tell you what, I won't put a price on it, but it's got to be a watch that you can realistically, A, say, I have the money in the bank, and if I wanted to go out and buy it tomorrow cash, I can. Or you can say, I will give myself 5 years, like Stuart gave himself, to save up that money for this piece. So there's the parameters. You've either got to have the money, you've not got to get into debt for this watch. There's no terms, there's no HP, there's no put it on a credit card and paying it off over 5 years. There's none of that. If you put it on a credit card, you've got to be able to pay it off the month after. So in effect, you've got to be able to afford to buy it. So I'm not going to give you a budget, but you know, please make the watch realistic, something that you can afford. There is no brand that I'm excluding from this. If all you can afford after saving for 5 years is a pre-owned Rolex, then that's fine. That's fine. I'm not bothered about that. So what is your last, very, very last big purchase that will end your collection, where you can say, right, that's it. Done. Finished. I know I have enough watches in my collection. I'm never going to be able to rotate them all to give them equal wrist time. What's it going to be? So asking myself the same question, well, I guess I've got to look at a number of things here. I've got to look at how long it took me to save for the Hulk. And I've got to put that into the equation. I've got to fit in there my own rules. Of course I have, because it wouldn't be fair. I don't believe in borrowing money in any form to buy a watch. I don't believe in borrowing money really to buy anything. Obviously we all borrow money to buy a house and certain cars and whatever, but those are not within that. And thirdly, I've got to look at a watch which I know is going to satisfy my aching heart to be a part of my collection. There's a number of things kind of out there. I've talked in the past about Panerai Luminor, for instance. Why? Well, as you know, I own my Marina Militaire. I love it to pieces. I absolutely love it to pieces. It's developed another fault which I may have to have put right, although I can't find many people who will repair them. So I may go down the route of buying a Panerai. I love them. I think they're great. I know it's a bit of a Marmite watch, but I may go down that route. And something which is, you know, exactly the same as what I have. The brushed stainless steel case with the tan leather strap and the big chunky buckle would do me right down to the ground. And if it comes with a rubber band as well, all the better. So that's one possibility. As I say, the IWC Portofino really kind of gone out the window, to be perfectly honest. So I've got to ignore that because I have something which is 98, 99% of the watch. So I don't need that in my life anymore. Do I want to go down the route of another Rolex? Well, no, not really. I have one which I am a custodian of, this one, and one which is mine, which somebody else will become the custodian of. So I don't need another Rolex. So what about an Omega then? Well, an Omega is a possibility because they are turning out some good looking watches at the moment, but I do tend to agree with Andy's summation of what Omega doing right now. They're making them too big, too fat, too thick. They need to relook at how they reorganize the movement to make the case size that little bit slimmer. Maybe look backwards to move forwards. Maybe start looking at the Omega Professional Seamaster 300 to get sort of echoes of that into a new watch with a variant of the coaxial movement, maybe. Something like that will perhaps talk to me. Would I go out and buy a Man on the Moon? No. It doesn't sing to me as it seems to sing to everybody else. And I'm sorry, all you Man on the Moon guys out there, not really my cup of tea. Something vintage, possibly. It isn't beyond the realms of possibility that I will save up a chunk of cash to buy something old and beautiful. Something that can be worn with great pride, which will only amass kudos within my collection. So I appreciate it's a very difficult one because I'm applying my own rules to myself. But what I will say is that purchase, whatever that purchase is, will close out my collection because I won't need to go anywhere else because I will have my core collection, which is the Rolex GMT Master, the Rolex Hulk, the Omega Seamaster Professional 300, my beautiful, beautiful Seiko Pogue, which is elsewhere in the world right now, and hopefully there will be a video coming up on that one. So hopefully I can come up with some kind of ideas, and who knows, I might poach an idea or two from you guys once you send your replies. So that's it for this one. What will be your very last big purchase to close out your collection and make you feel satisfied with what you have? So that's it for this one, people. Thank you very much indeed for watching. I'm going to try and enjoy a little bit of the good weather. What I am going to do, a little bit of notice, forward planning. I'm going to do a video at some point fairly soon. Now that tennis season is here again, and I know not everybody's into tennis, but it will be titled one for the tennis fans. So get your thinking caps on, people who enjoy tennis, and no doubt there will be some interesting facts and questions within that video for you. So that's it for this one, folks. Questions, answers to this one, suggestions for this one, things that you'd like perhaps to see on my wrist. You know, maybe around the £6,000 mark, maybe that kind of thing. Other than that, that's it as always. If you want to make any suggestions for this kind of nonsense, pop them down below. Thank you very much for my new subscribers who've come along in the last couple of days. I think I've got back to everybody. If I haven't, give me a nudge and I will send you my little notette of welcome. So for now, that's it, people. Look after yourselves. Get out in the sunshine if you're certainly in the north of England. I'm not too sure whether it's beautiful everywhere in the UK, but I'm assuming it is. So if you can get out and enjoy this beautiful summer, please do so, and I'll speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.